Today I want to talk to you guys about something. I was inspired about this message because of my daughter. There is a scripture in Matthew 18, verses 1 through 4 that I want to read you guys. It says, "At the time, the disciples came to Jesus and said, 'Who then is greatest in the kingdom of heaven?' And then Jesus called a child to himself and set the child before them and said, 'Truly I say to you, unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever then humbles himself as this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.'" For a long time, I'd read this verse, and there was parts of it that were kind of confusing to me because Jesus is sitting here, the disciples are like, "Lord, how do we achieve some sort of greatness in relationship with you, so much so in the kingdom of heaven that we might be successful?" And Jesus said, "Be like a child." Here's why this is funny. How many of you guys have been around little children before? Guys, my daughter's only a month old, okay? So she cries, she eats, she poops. She cries a lot when she's gassy. Not gonna lie. And then that's it, right? As they get older, they talk and they walk and they lie and they pull your hair and they do not care, right? Children are not ashamed. Children are not nice. Children are brutally honest all of the time. But children are entirely innocent and they're entirely helpless. My daughter wouldn't last a day. She wouldn't last a week without us, without me and my wife taking care of her. When you read this and when Jesus says, "Only those who are like children will enter the kingdom of heaven," he's not saying only those who are childish will enter the kingdom of heaven. There's a difference between being childlike and being childish. Childish is a lack of maturity. Childlike is an understanding of humility. It's an attitude that understands that in relationship, you and God is like a father and his daughter, or a father and his son, where you are entirely helpless without him. You are entirely dependent on him. It's the way that it was meant to be. And when you do this correctly, it's a really, really powerful and amazing thing. This is a photo of my daughter. She's adorable. Next one. And another. She's tiny, guys. She's when she was born, she was 6 pounds, 13 ounces, which is small. She lost weight, too much weight. It wasn't good, but she went down to 6 pounds for a little while. I don't know if you've ever held one of those 5-pound weights or anything. She's tiny. You feel like you're going to break her, but next one. She's cute. We spend 90% of the time, if she's not sleeping or pooping or eating, is just staring at her, because that's what she does. She just looks at us the whole time. And it's the best thing, guys. Now, like I said, my daughter cannot live without me. She is dependent upon her parents. In the same way, we're to be dependent on God. But there is a difference. While my daughter is dependent on me, she also her brain's not developed yet. She's not smart yet. She can't talk yet. She can't walk. She's not matured yet. She's a child, and she won't be for a long time. In your relationship with the Lord, you're called to be matured. You're called to be like a child, but you also aren't. It gets a little confusing. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, "When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. But when I became a man, I did away with childish things." This is Paul talking. 1 Corinthians 14 says, "Brethren, do not be children in your thinking. yet in evil be infants, but in your thinking be mature. What he's saying is, the foolishness of children is evil and wickedness, which is kind of a strong way to put it. But the truth is that if you've been around kids at any point in time, you know that kids are not naturally good. Kids will eat only sugar if you let them. They will lie and they will steal and they will take because they have not developed the maturity and the social skills and the understanding yet to function. But you have. Yet you're still supposed to be like a child. Like I said before, we want to be childlike, not childish. It's not about immaturity. It's about humility. James 4 says this, but he gives a greater grace. Therefore it says, God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. I could read you verse after verse after verse in the scriptures that talks about humility. It is one of the most important things that you're going to have to learn in your life. Pride is the greatest destruction, the greatest destructive force, not only just in your relationship with the Lord, but in your relationships with people. Some of you guys know this. You have people in your life that are extremely prideful. Is it hard to be around those people? Yeah. You know, it's something that personally I've had to grow in a lot because I've always been full of pride ever since I was a kid. Right? I had like a lot of people that liked me and all this stuff. And as children, it's fun, but that can be a really bad thing and a really good thing sometimes. Jesus says you need to be childlike. In Christianity, we talk about this thing, it's called a childlike faith. Your faith and your relationship with the Lord should be a childlike faith. But what does that look like? I want to give you kind of like a quick definition that hopefully will help you understand this. Childlike faith is simply this. Childlike faith looks outside of itself for salvation, or it looks outside of itself for help. It looks outside of itself for comfort. It looks outside of itself for affirmation. Allie, I know I told you this thing wasn't going to fall off, but it's like totally falling off. Is this a new one? No? Maybe my ears got smaller or bigger. It's possible. Having kids does crazy things to you. There's a lot of work on my part. No. Okay, I want to read you guys a couple more things. Ephesians 2, 8 through 9 says, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, that no one may boast in themselves. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. Listen, if I can help you get one thing out of this, it's that humility is really, really important. If you want to grow with the Lord, you got to learn humility. See, it can be kind of a tricky thing because we don't really know where to start. But the truth is, it starts where Jesus said it starts, with understanding this relationship between you and the Father. And then some of you guys may not have a real relationship with the Lord. You might not have that relationship where you feel like God is a father to you, that he is your comfort and he is your help. A lot of us, we look to other things for that. Right? I used to look to pornography for that. I used to lie all of the time in order to keep myself from being accused or guilty of things, even though I really did them deep down inside and I knew. But I was a good liar for a lot of my life. I probably still am, so be careful when you're around me. I think some of my small group boys know that because I make jokes sometimes and then they just believe it 100% until like a year later and then they find out it's not true. They're joking lies, okay, guys? Not anything serious. The truth is, right now in this season, especially you guys that are near the end of high school, but even freshman, sophomore, you are in the process of becoming who you're going to be for the rest of your life. Right now, you are in process of becoming who you are going to be. The decisions that you make, the people you hang out with, the things that you watch, the things that you say, all of this is going to define who you are for the next 10, 15, 20 years. That might seem like a weird concept. You might feel like you're too young. Some of you guys have jobs. Most of you probably don't. Some of you guys have your license. Most of you, I hope, do. But listen, nobody ever plans to ruin their life. But if you let pride go unchecked, you will. No one makes New Year's resolutions that are things like, I'm going to become an alcoholic this year. I want to ruin all of my friendships and destroy my life. I want to become addicted to drugs. I want to go into debt. I want to become bankrupt. Like, nobody starts their year thinking, I want to mess up my life. But what a lot of us do is we start our year thinking like, I just want to have more fun this year, right? I want to earn all these things for myself. I want to have more money. I want to have all this. I want to have more influence. I want to be cooler. I want to be better looking. All of these different things that deep down inside that we desire, and this pride that creeps in. And what starts off as this pursuit of something that seems good or seems okay turns into this. It turns into this death. It turns into ruin. The Bible teaches us that there's only one thing that'll save you. There's only one thing that is good for you. And that is the Lord. The Bible tells us that in everything that you do, in every decision that you make, and everything you watch, everything you say, the people you hang out with, like I said, you are meant to do those things for the glory and the honor of the Lord. And if you don't, it's because you're prideful. See, if you have areas of your life where you're doing things for yourself, that's pride. If you're not doing them for the Lord, it's pride. And we can trick ourselves into thinking that we're okay or that our relationship with the Lord is good because we know a lot about the Bible or because we go to church a lot. I know I did when I was in high school. I'm sure if you asked anybody when I was in high school, they would have been like, Matt's solid. Like, he loves the Lord. He always answers questions during small groups and messages and different things, and he's always encouraging to be around, never cusses, never does any of this stuff. But in my heart was this pride, and it was destroying me from the inside out. And it wasn't till the point of contemplating suicide, the point of wanting to run away, wanting to go. I remember one night wanting to leave and just run, and I wanted to go meet up with this girl that I was talking to, and I wanted to go have sex. And I didn't, by the grace of God. And this was all in the midst of, at this time, I was a small group leader. I was a part of the worship team. Guys, I was doing all this stuff in church, but I was doing it all for me and with pride, and my life was a wreck. And I say this because I truly believe that there's some of you in here who you're really, really involved, and on the outside, and as far as everybody here can tell, as far as your leaders can tell, you are great. As far as Christianity standards, you're A-, A grade Christian, I don't know. But deep down inside, it's pride. And you know it's destroying you because there's sin that you're not dealing with. There's fears that you're not dealing with. There's thoughts that are running through your head that you know shouldn't. It's time to return back to a state of childlikeness and recognizing that you are weak, you are fallible, you are not good enough, that you need help. It's actually a lot easier to understand that when you grew up not being a Christian and then you come to the Lord later on in life than when you grew up as a Christian. Because you never really had that point of having to come to grips with the fact that you're terrible and broken, honestly. And that's why God is so good, because it doesn't matter how much my daughter messes up. It doesn't matter how much she cries. It doesn't matter how much she poops on me. I love her to death. And I fight for her. And I would do anything to protect her. She's only a month old. And just the other day, I was thinking about someday somebody's going to date her. Somebody's going to try and marry her. And I'm just like, it better be the right guy, or I'm going to go over to somebody's house and do something. And it's all these thoughts are running through my head, and it's this protective nature. This actually happened. These thoughts were already starting as soon as I found out I was having a daughter. Somebody else, a friend of mine who also just had a baby, they had a boy, and they were joking about how oh, they're going to get married someday. And then this protective nature came out of me that was we'll see. I was just super defensive. And they're just messing around, and it's all fun and games, but there's this deep sense of responsibility to my child. And the Lord feels way more of that for you. Way greater and way deeper of a love. Have you felt that love before from Him? Seriously, ask yourself that question. In your life, whether you're a Christian or not, have you experienced the real fatherly love of God? And if the answer is no, you might be missing something. It's my hope that tonight you might find it. I'm actually going to invite the band up right now when you guys are ready. I'm not quite done. I got a couple of more things that I want to go over. You are in a season right now of becoming the men and the women that you're going to be for your life. A lot of you are deciding this Christianity thing. Are you in or are you out? I don't know what the statistic is, but it's probably 80% of people make that decision by the time they're 20 years old. Are you going to have a childlike faith or a childish faith? Children are humble, but they're prideful. Children don't have shame. Children are innocent in many ways, but they're full of sin. What's going to set you apart, what's going to allow you to have that relationship that deep down inside you know you want with the Lord, is humility. It's understanding that every single moment of every single day, you need Him. The moment that you think you're good, the moment you feel comfortable, that's pride. and you're in danger. If at any point in time my daughter was like, I don't need dad, I don't need mom, until she's obviously all grown up, but while she's still a child, she's just like, oh, I don't need mom and dad, I'm just going to go out in the world on my own. It doesn't really work. It's not like birds. You don't have kids and then just leave, right? And she's like, have fun. Or turtles. Turtles do that too. A lot of animals do that. Human babies can't do that. It's because God designed it that way, because he wants to teach us something. He could have made it any way he wanted, but he made it with purpose and intentionality in order to show you that in the same way that we love our children, he loves us in an even greater way. In the same way our children are dependent on us, we are dependent on him in an even greater way. So this is what I want to do. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. You know, self-evaluation is one of the most important characteristics that you're going to have to develop. Ability to search your heart and ask the Lord to search your heart and understand the condition that you are in. There are some of you in here who have been Christians for a long time. You've been walking with the Lord for a long time. But you do not understand the love of God as your Father. There are those of you in here who do not know the Lord at all. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Tonight is an opportunity for you to experience the love of the Father. But the only way, regardless of where you're at, think of it as a spectrum or whatever, but regardless of where you're at, the only way that happens is through your childlike faith. Is through you saying, I need him, and I want him, and I can't do this on my own. Matthew 18 says, truly I say to you, unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Unless you learn to become like children and humble yourself, you will not enter into the kingdom of God, and you will not enter into its fullness. Jesus continues to says, therefore, whoever then humbles themselves as this child will be great in my kingdom and will have a place in my kingdom. Let's have the lights down. Can I have my adults come up here to the front? As many of you are able. You know, God designed a really amazing way for us to minister to one another and love on one another. And that's prayer. It's this thing called laying on of hands, where somebody puts their hand on your shoulder and prays over you. It's really simple. But tonight, if you want to experience and you want to begin to start this relationship with the Lord from this place of love and understanding of him as your Father, then I need you to do something. I need you to first become childlike. Clear your heart and your mind of yourself, of your own wants, of your own dreams, of your own pride, and just for a moment, humble yourself and recognize, I need him. And I want you to come forward, and I want you to talk with one of these adults. If you got to wait in line, wait in line. I left plenty of time for us. And we want to pray for you. And we want to encourage you. And I am trusting and I am hoping that the Lord is going to meet with you. I can't promise you what it's going to look like, but I can promise you it'll be good. But it starts with you. Father, be with us in this time. Father, you first loved us. That's the only reason any of us are here. Is you chose us. We are your children. Help us to see that. Lord, how I need you. I am a wreck without you. I'm a wretched person without you. So come and join us. Fill us with your love. We need you.